it was heroin that I was charged with.
7 weeks ago, you were in prison.
Well, there was an undercover that was involved in the situation.
This is overcharging, wrongful charging, a lot of technical stuff. So how is prison? Give us I guess.
So I don't want to,
That's incredible. The fact that you actually were able to read up and then say, hey, wait a minute, I think this could apply to my case.
First night going out, I go on the phone. Yo, this Spanish dude gets stabbed in the eye.
What?
Might be Big Bubba. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You want to stay away.
You don't want to share no cornbread with Bubba, right?
I'm going the opposite end of the cafeteria.
After you got out, what was something you found out? Maybe it was like a piece of technology or like whatever. Like,
oh, the tapping on the phone when people was paying for stuff.
7 weeks ago, you were in prison. Is that correct?
February 18th, 2026, I was released. Yeah, so 7 weeks.
Yeah, so
now.
literally, how is, out of jail
what's
life?
like
I mean, what's the first thing you did when you got out of jail?
First thing I did, well, I get up with my lady.
Mm-hmm.
That's first thing. Got to get that out the way, and just kind of like eased into things, So we went out to eat, just kind of hung out with her, just kind of more get my mind in the right space. So, wasn't really into like
just the simple stuff, family, things that maybe we take for granted
absolutely.
because we have it. It's like, damn, when that's taken away, it's like, that's the first thing you want to get to.
People think there's like this cliche of like, oh, I'm gonna go outside and turn up and go party and stuff like that. But nah, just having that little bit of serenity, you know what I'm saying? And just relaxing, being around loved ones and stuff. That was kind of like my thing. So
and speaking of the cliche, I gotta ask, like, did you like stop at a gas station, like convenience store on the way back? I know it's like a thing. If people, it's always how it's presented in movies. I feel like they like stop at the store, like pick up like a snack they couldn't have for a long time.
Oh,
like,
yeah, most definitely. Yo, what's so
like,
crazy? I noticed it's funny you saying that because actually I did fit that cliche. Because it's definitely stopped at the gas station. I'm seeing they got things. Candy done evolved, I'm still a fat boy at heart. I used to be 300 pounds. So so once I started seeing like, oh yeah, they got some new Reese's Pieces, the cakes. So I had to pick up a couple of those. So
yeah. So Reese's Pieces guy, that's the first thing you had to grab, or
it was like I forgot what kind of Reese's Pieces, but it wasn't just regular classic. There's all types of different flavors now and stuff.
Yeah, they come out with all this new stuff.
And guys, this is a situation where there's a lot of different details. We're gonna go through the story. I want to start from the beginning, but this is overcharging, wrongful charging. A lot of technical stuff. So we're going to get into it for you guys maybe that are a little confused, and you guys will hear it. But I want to kind of take it back. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? You're from New York, or?
Well, most of my young days was in Long Island. Grew up in Brentwood, so that's like mid Long Island, Suffolk County. Before that, I was, when I was born, I was out in Far Rockaway, Queens. But for most of my life, most of my life was in Long Island.
The case, obviously, that you were arrested for and you were charged for did involve drug trafficking. So I do want to kind of address for, people at home, when did that start? When, I guess, you getting into selling drugs, or what kind of drugs were you selling?
So, basically it was heroin that I was charged with. And that whole situation was something that predates me getting arrested no more than like a year. You know what I'm saying? So it was something that was short-lived. And that basically dealing with that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Dealing with that with weed and things like that. But in that situation, it was basically in that same time frame as the investigation.
And how did you start selling? Like, when did this, did it start with just weed and then transition to heroin, or how did you get
was
involved?
Just an opportunity. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, I was just being overzealous. You know what I mean? My whole concept at the time, was basically like my business was all legit, right? So I was trying to scale my business. So what I was doing was kind of just offsetting my expenses with this stuff and letting my business grow. So there was never like a merging, and they investigated all that stuff, you know what I mean? Going into bank accounts and everything like that. So there was never like a merging of like, oh, the drugs is funding the business. Parties is something I've been doing since I was in high school. So 2002, it started with a house party, and, went through the whole learning curves and everything like that, and got to really like 2015, right before I got incarcerated, is when it just kind of bloomed, right? So in the eyes of people, it's always like, there's always like a plateau, and then kind of, you just never know when something really took off. So they just see when it took off. So it's like, oh, wow, where did this come from? No, but this is something I've been doing since I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a different type of drug, right? You know what I'm saying? And, looking at it hindsight and stuff like that, the trickle effect that it causes, you know what I mean? I can understand why it's something that's looked at totally different than other
weed
situation,
because
weed,
obviously
coke, and stuff like that.
yeah, and there's a lot of people would say like, oh, there's like, people get addiction or overdose. It's more
Yeah, nah, yeah, it's
dangerous.
bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
But obviously, like, look, so this is something where you feel like looking back at it, it was just you were doing too much. It was like you didn't fully think it through. It was just kind of this is an opportunity and didn't really think. And now, kind of looking back, it's a little
No,
maybe
100%, yeah,
regretful.
and it happens in all types of different levels. I mean, you got corporate guys that got this money's invested in all types of opiates, and
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. And it's like
It's happening at a legal level.
yeah,
You know?
exactly, right. So the principle, the universal concept of it is like, yeah, when you're just too determined and focused on what you're doing,
Hmm.
you will convince yourself to rationalize the situation, right?
Hmm.
If you're just like so too ambitious, right? And that's when it's kind of like you like what I've learned in being incarcerated, like you always have to find a balance. You know what I mean? So it's like you could nothing wrong with being ambitious, nothing wrong with doing any of that kind of stuff. Like I mean, as far as like yeah, you want to chase your dreams and stuff like that, but certain things you just can't compromise. You know, if you want it to really flourish.
And I could tell there's like a little bit of regret, and we'll get to that as well,
Mhm.
because obviously, like at the time you're selling and stuff. I want to get to how did you get caught? How did you wind up, getting in trouble with all this? How did it catch up with you?
There was an undercover that was involved in the situation. You know, it was dealing with somebody, and then like any typical situation, they call, and undercover gets involved in the situation, right?
So you were making a sale to an undercover. Was that what was going on, or?
Yeah, well, introduced to undercover,
Hmm.
and this is all part of a public record and stuff like that. So introduced to undercover, and a sale had took place, and that undercover basically was just kind of like we're talking about something that was like peanuts. Like I'm talking about like the size of a rock that turned into like, oh, can you try to find me this or something like that? But technically, like what my lawyer and myself was talking at first was trying to go with like, okay, this is some type of entrapment, right? Because if someone doesn't have a propensity of doing something at a certain scale, and then you just kind of helping to guide them to get you something, because there's no evidence of me running around selling nothing on the A1 levels or anything like that with anyone. And you have I believe it was like 4 months, 5 months of wiretaps, and you see that too. But you're so stuck on just trying to get that medal, trying to get that conviction, trying to get all that. You'll do whatever. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Everyone with their ambitions, right?
Hmm.
Now, even on that side, right, with the police, right? You're trying so hard to get that big break and stuff like that. You don't care whose life or whatever. You don't care what rules you're bending or how you're gonna go about it to get that. No, it's not. Oh no, we're not gonna. We have potential to make this a big case.
Hmm.
So let's try our hard to make it a big case instead of you could have just made it. I mean,
Yeah, like a normal fare.
Yeah,
More
so
importantly,
exactly. You know what I'm saying? So that's what my whole thing was. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this is not a case of like actual innocence. It's a case of just being wrongfully convicted, right? However, how the law is written when it comes to entrapment, right? That all they have to show is that you had the mental state of being capable of doing it. So the only way a person could really get caught in entrapment in New York State is like you just never sold drugs in your life. And then you just happen. So if you're selling, you could be selling a $5 piece of some dope or something like that. Whatever. If he could get you to make a call to get someone who could get something that they want, oh yeah, there's no entrapment in that.
hmm
Even if you never did anything like that in your life, that's the law. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy,
So
right?
they can essentially, and what you're saying it happened is like encourage or like walk you
Yeah.
to a higher crime, and because you're like mentally and physically capable of having committed that crime, they can say like,
100%.
would have done it with or without me, and
Regardless
it's
of with or
guilty of
without
this.
them, the law is the law, and they're
Wow.
just gonna be like they could get away with it, then they could get away with it.
I think it's interesting what you pointed out, like two sides of the same coin, where it's like you were kind of overzealous, as you were saying, and now you're saying like the police are also overzealous in the way that they're overcharging. They're trying to make it this bigger case than it is, and make it a bigger deal because that's what they're after, and it doesn't matter kind of who it affects. And it did affect you because obviously, look, I think you even said yourself, you could say, look, it was a mistake. I regret doing this. But there's a big difference between making a mistake and then completely, overcharging. And it's just not fair. You know what I'm saying? I think
Exactly.
everybody's entitled in the justice system, at least, here is like, to have a fair shot. It should be fair, and it's like, obviously you were then, I guess, eventually, also I wanted to ask you, what other evidence did they have? Because you mentioned, I saw also online, there were wiretaps kind of like how deep was this investigation?
The amount of money they spent on taxpayers, you would have thought they was going after El Chapo or something like that, right?
Yeah, for real, right?
Like those GPS.
We're still waiting on those free buses, by the way. What's going on?
Yeah, there was GPSs on vehicles, wiretaps, just surveilling me going everywhere I'm going. And it's like, it's like they have everything to show that this, like the pitch you try to paint is not that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every government agency has a FOIL department. So that's in New York State, it's called FOIL, Freedom of Information Law. When we talk about federal government stuff, it's called FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. And it's an open book policy that, you know what I'm saying? So how I utilize that, excuse me, is I went to and got all my records from the district attorney office. I hope the 4,000 pages is all my records, right? You know what I'm saying? So I went and got 4,000 pages from the district attorney office. And then in there, I was able to see what it was, why they needed to make this case such a big case. Now, I had one Code, not even from Long Island, from the city, right? And they was able to associate things just off the wiretaps and stuff like that. Now, there was a location out from the city that wasn't even in Suffolk County. And based on the wiretaps and stuff, they was able to locate, narrow down where that location was. Now, this location, there's, even the detective admitted, there's really no evidence that says I ever even been over there, right? And that's on the transcripts, on my record. And so, well, let me take it back one step, right? Because that's the night of my arrest. So before you get arrested on a drug case, if there's an investigation going on and they feel like there's assets involved, they go to the civil court. So anything dealing with money is a civil court. So the detectives, they go to the court and be like, hey, 9-month investigation. We believe XYZ did this and that, all this stuff, and they just kind of throw a number out there. And this is even written in the law. They throw a number out there that they feel is going to be more than they plan on seizing. So when you do take a plea deal, part of your plea deal would be to forfeit whatever they seized in satisfaction of the judgment, which is kind of basically putting a lawsuit on you.
Yeah.
So, there's a process to everything. It's not like they just grab everything and just take whatever they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they told the judge that, they feel in 9 months that I made $300,000, right? This is based on valuation. Like,
in 9 months, you mean $300K?
That's what they said to the judge, right? This is not from they collected $300,000. They're saying, the going price of drugs these days and times that and projection of that, like it's the stock market
it's like
or some shit, right?
Feeling. Like it's just what they
you know what I'm saying? They throw whatever. You could do shit like that in the civil court, right? You know what I'm saying? You kind of could play around with shit like that. This February 24th, 2016, I went to trial in August actually. My trial started in 2017, right? So before getting arrested, February 23rd, they was able to get the judgment. The judge said, okay, yeah, so anything you guys seize, you could seize $300,000, $324,000 in assets on the case. Civil court, different than the criminal court, right? Mm-hmm. So now, cool. So that just kind of tells you what their mindset is, because right after that, that's when you want to hurry up and wrap the case up. So what are they really after? Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What's really their motive and stuff like that, right? So now it's like, okay, now let's wrap up the case here. We got the judgment to XYZ, get this amount of money, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now, whatever, next day, how everything played out, got us arrested. We all got arrested and stuff like that. They went to Queens. Co-defendant got arrested out here, got arrested out here. They raided freaking everything looking for God knows what. There was really not much they was finding in Suffolk County. When they went to Queens location, now they found $650. Well, they put on paper $650,000, right? Now they're here scratching their heads now. We only got permission to take $324,000. How are we going to take the rest of this money? So now, on my website, baptistestory.com, I have all these motions that you could actually download yourself and see all these exhibits.
I'll leave it in the link in the description sure, so people can check it out.
So you could actually go and I made sure the facts, upload all these motions are in the court right now. Like literally looking in the mail to see what the judge is going to say about this, right? So they're scratching their heads like, okay, in simple terms, so everyone can understand, like, damn, how are we going to take the rest of this money right now? You know what I mean? So someone thought of the clever idea to go back to the court, the civil court, and submit what is called a supplemental ex parte motion. So supplement is basically adding or changing something to the original motion, right? So it went to the court and basically said that, oh, in our investigation, we uncovered more related evidence and XYZ, and they basically put in evidence with names and everything of a people from a whole nother case. In my case, in this paperwork in the civil court, mind you, it's all on the website. You know what I'm saying? Because I sound like a conspiracy theorist when I be saying this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this ex parte motion that I'm not involved in, my criminal lawyer who's not hired to handle my civil stuff, technically is not involved in this either. You know what I'm saying? To review all this stuff. So that's what's going on in the civil court. Names of the people, everything inside inside this motion. And basically saying like, oh, the case is not it's not valued at $320,000. It's valued at $730,000. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So
what a coincidence, huh?
Yeah, right.
Kind of like piggybacking. Like,
yeah,
we already
right?
went to you for this case.
So that other case, they got arrested before me. I got arrested February 24, 2016. Those guys got arrested October 2015. The people that they mentioned and stuff like that had nothing to do with my case. I remember seeing one of them in the hallway. You know what I'm saying? That was like a pyramid kind of situation going on. And like I said, we're waiting for the judge. This is the evidence I got in front of the judge right now. See what he's going to say about all this. Is you found this money in Queens, in Suffolk County. In order for you to have jurisdiction or have reason grounds to take this money, which I don't even know if Queens District Attorney Office even is aware or was involved in this in any way, which is one of the rules when you go into another jurisdiction to announce yourself, right? That you had to basically try to show that this money that you found in Queens was made in Suffolk County. You know what I'm saying? So you had to make some case that fits, because my case wasn't definitely enough. I mean, you already over exaggerated with the 300,000, right? So I don't know how you're gonna try to and you already put your foot in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? So you can't even try to manipulate and make something up.
So where did that money, I guess, come from if it wasn't from?
That was in Queens, and that has nothing to do with the case out here. There's no evidence of me having any involvement with that residence, anything like that.
Oh,
so whatever's going on,
so unrelated to
exactly.
you.
Wow. So you had nothing.
Exactly. There's nothing to even suggest that I ever stepped foot in that house, in that apartment, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's from the detectives' mouths themselves in my trial.
Yeah.
Even though they used all that, I went to trial by myself. Even though they used all that evidence to obviously convince, like that was the stuff that was convincing the jury. That wasn't even. The law is so funny like that, like how they can manipulate certain charges to allow certain things in and out, and that's what makes it. That's kind of like the art of it. Because if it was all black and white, then it wouldn't be no fight between the prosecutor and the defense, right?
We were kind of talking about before the podcast. We were saying like that there isn't as much case law on know, drug as maybe other cases like murder, where murder has been going on since the beginning of time, where this is very nuanced and not as much case law.
Absolutely. And that's specifically the major drug trafficking charge, right? So major drug trafficking charge, I believe, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure, I think it was 2012 they put in legislation. Now, to give you a little history on that, when they had the Rockefeller charge, the Rockefeller thing going on in New York, you guys familiar with that?
No.
All right, so there's a lot of people advocating for that. So that was a time that they was giving people, like, you get caught with a little bit of crack, they'll give you 1 year to life. So people go home and be on life parole. And this is when parole was different back in the day. Like you go jaywalking, you're going back to jail. It's a lot more liberal now. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But back then it was rough. So you had a lot of people just stuck in the system. So I think it was like 2000. So 2012, they made a big deal about it, basically saying, okay, the Rockefeller law is abolished, whatever the case may be. However, nobody knew what was going on inside that assembly. Was they implied something called the major drug trafficking charge, which was another way of them giving people life sentences. More than likely in a trial court, I mean, that's just how it's designed. The judge is going to kind of go with the prosecutor, right? And then it goes to the higher courts. And then that's where precedent is usually set. And depending on how broad the issue is, it goes to a higher and higher court. That's all the little things people don't see when it comes to like decision making in the courts and stuff like that. And something I didn't see until actually like going inside, I became a certified paralegal while I was incarcerated and stuff. And all my time was just working out in the law library, and really had to learn the art and understand the game law, the mindset behind just to actually even be able to even play it. I mean, it's your life on your line, but truth be told, it's a game. You know what I mean?
I definitely want to get into that because that's incredible. The fact that like, you actually were able to read up and then say, hey, wait a minute, I think this could apply to my case. And obviously you told me that there was some help, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But you get convicted, or 51 years to life. That's the conviction.
Yeah, sentence. Yeah.
Sentence. Yeah. And what was your immediate reaction to this? I mean, how did you feel?
The out of body experience kind of reaction thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You just sitting there and just your whole body just getting numb. I was feeling all types of stuff I never felt a day in my life before.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole situation. But yeah.
I mean, essentially your whole life over because of one mistake.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I like to what I learned the word to use, not really mistake, but bad choices. You know what I'm saying?
Why is that?
Because a mistake, it kind of gives you a label like you're not like you're not taking accountability for what you did, you know what I'm saying, in a way, right? Like you decided to do something, regardless what your rationale is, right? So you made a choice. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's mature.
Yeah, I think that's very honest.
Even more.
You know what I'm saying? But that's, you know what I mean? That's really like a mistake is like, oh, snap. Oh, shit, I forgot to unplug that thing. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't make a choice to leave that unplugged or something for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
It implies it's accidental.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, you basically your whole life over because of a bad choice you made and maybe bad judgment, where it's like, look, people make bad choices, but it's like have your whole life ruined is absolutely insane. So, I mean, what was it like the first night there? I mean, I would be shitting bricks, man. Shout out to you because I wouldn't make it a day. I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, just being arrested, it was different, like different phase from just being arrested to actually going upstate.
Yeah.
Is like, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, like the first being arrested, like I was talking about that the other day when I was in the interview, it was just like, bro, like I was thought I had to go to sleep and see if I was in a dream or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I went in there not expecting to be hearing that, oh, major drug trafficker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Make it seem like I had a pipeline going to Suffolk County. Like the how they sold this story. You know what I'm saying? And they had to sell it because if I got locked up February 24th, right? They had to sell it because they already decided in their mind that because of this money that they found and everything like that, this has to be a major drug trafficking case.
Yeah.
They knew prior to that this was not a major drug trafficking case, but when they stumbled across that money that they didn't have no clue about, now it has to make sense. It's a narrative. So what he did was he had a press conference, 2 tables like this, right? So on the table to the left, to the right, I guess I should say, he has one big canvas of my co-defendant. Has another big canvas of me. And this other case that they just arrested them the night before the press conference. Mind you, I told you, there's a month after I got arrested. It's a canvas with the whole pyramid of these guys. Now, this ain't the same case that they used on my case from October, whatever, but they still had to keep the narrative going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Make it like a bigger deal.
Yeah, they essentially painted it as like an operation cross counties.
Exactly,
you
right?
were going into the city and stuff.
Yeah, right. And now it's looking like we're supplying this other case that, you know what I'm saying? Their information is already out there that's dealing with fentanyl, people dying and all that kind of stuff. And what it looks like visually that we're supplying them. I mean, it's crazy. Like you see how like they really psychologically how they do. Like you got this big picture of this, and these guys got to be the main people, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then you have a pyramid of
and a bunch of people that I don't even know.
Like...
Verbally, they didn't say, "Oh, this is one big case." They said, "Oh, 2 major drug trafficking cases," but who's really looking at hearing what's going on when they're seeing something?
I wanted to ask about prison, especially specifically because, like, obviously first night, and you spent how many years? 7 years or so in prison? How many years was this? 10 years in prison. Wow, 10 years.
10 years.
Wow, man, that is a long time.
My whole 30s.
Is prison like you see in the TV shows? I always think of this. Is this, or is it worse, better? Is it like not? I don't know. Like, it seems like, I guess it just, how is prison? Give us like, I guess.
So I don't want to be like an example of how everybody else's bid is, right? Because it's funny, like people say as a joke, it's like, oh, come on, make it seem like prison's not that bad or something. That's just because how I chose to utilize prison, right? and there's somebody else who committed suicide being in prison, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's an internal decision and situation person have to do and have that paradigm shift in there to see what he's going to do with this time. Outside of your internal peace that you're trying to create for yourself, it's straight chaos. You know what I'm saying? It's chaos. You know what I mean? It's like you don't know what you're going to walk into, walking out yourself. You don't know what the day is going to bring, right? So it always becomes like a second nature to kind of just head on a swivel and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
You know, you just don't know what today's going to bring. Here's something like, oh shit, what's up? What's going on? Right? Someone else could be having a bad day. Your neighbor, I mean, if your neighbor, you could be in an argument with some dude and dude's a straight serial killer.
Yeah.
But it becomes so common in that you be in that environment. Like, trust me, like it's like everyone's just not a victim, right? No, they got a saying, it's the 3 Gs, right? Gangs, gambling, and you gotta watch. I mean, not to say anything about it, you know what I'm saying? I have no problem with doing that. But then they say with gays, right?
Mhm.
Now, you know, it could be a little situation different with the gays inside there, right? Because it might be Big Bubba.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? So when we talk about that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? It's like it's different than
You want to stay away.
Yeah, you
from
walking down the
those
street
guys,
right
yeah.
here. You don't want to share no cornbread with Bubba,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. I'm staying away from Bubba. I'm staying fucking far away.
Yeah, right.
I'm going the opposite.
Yeah,
end of the
because it's not
cafeteria.
gonna be pleasant. It's not gonna be pleasant situation. You know what I'm saying? So in jail, right?
Yeah.
Versus being on the outside, it's two totally different things, right?
Mhm.
And I want to say drugs, right? These things open doors, right? And 90% of the time, it's gonna be. I'll even take the gay stuff out because that's not even a big thing no more like that. As far as causing issues, right? Drugs, gambling, gangs, right? If you choose to involve yourself in these things, then you're choosing to take on any of these things that come with it. So 85%, I'm gonna say probably 90% of things that's going on in prison is due to these things, right? There's the culture around you. It's easy to just like, oh yeah, fuck it, let me just go gamble.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just
Right.
go gamble, whatever. Or now, or for all your friends and probably friends from your town or whatever case would be, now becomes part of like a culture, the gangs, right? And then it's easy to fall into that as well. You know what I mean? So like the people you're hanging out with, if everyone around you is a certain thing or something like that, I mean, it's hard to be the one not like that, right?
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
what I
man.
was going to ask you. Like, you know, you looking at your situation, someone might say, well, you know what, I'm 51 years anyway, 51 to life anyway. Like, what's the point? You might as well just do these stuff. Like, what was the reason, I guess, that you deterred from doing those, going into like, gang activity in prison or, more drugs or those types of
I was
things?
determined to come home.
Mm-hmm.
Since the day I went in there. I mean, I give that more so to just my character trait. You know, I guess being a hard-headed kid paid off some
Yeah.
way, somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just not gonna tell me anything that don't make sense, right? It's sad to see, like, that's how the system was running. It's kind of like, oh yeah, this is what it is. That's what's going on. Oh, but you don't want to do life in prison, so just take this deal. It's crazy because you got innocent people out of fear
Mhm.
taking plea deals.
Oh, for sure.
Right, yeah.
And how long did it take for you to be like, wow, they actually really screwed me with this case law and kind of get into what you discovered, like that you when that got your your
So
sentence
good
overturned?
question, because it's great because everything has layers to it, man.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, this journey was something like every day I was working on this journey, right? So how it initially started after I got off it was like a week or two in. You know, they got a law library. I went to the law library in the county jail. I didn't know how to use the computer programs yet, anything like that, right? So they have the legal books. It's like an encyclopedia. So I never had no reason to even look at any law or anything like that. So I'm just trying to figure this out on my own. So I was like, all right, went encyclopedia, 220. And I'm like, okay, the major drug trafficking, looking at the major drug trafficking. And when I seen what they had to prove, I was saying about the 75,000. Then there was something at the time I thought was applied to my case as well. It says like 4 more people, you know what I mean, that's working together. So it was this organization type thing. I'm like, yo, I got one co-defendant, right? 75,000. I mean, from who and from where? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm already piecing together who's involved and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, nah. I gotta talk to my lawyer about this. Right. So that was the first inclination, right? After 6 months, I actually was convinced to go take a plea deal. Right. On my way to go take the plea deal, talking to one of my friends from the town that happened to be incarcerated. And about, like, yeah, I'm about to go take this plea deal. We're actually walking to the court, on a chain gang kind of situation to the court to actually go see the judge. Person beside me, he's hearing me and he overhear me and he's like, hey, he's like, hold on, you Anthony Baptiste? Like, yeah, I'm bunkies with your code D, right? I go, where? And because what I was told, I was informed that my code D already took a plea deal.
Mm-hmm.
I was informed that, so because usually when a person take a plea deal, then it's like, all right, yeah, implicated you and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's like, all right, cool, so whatever, right? I didn't have no like you know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know the law. I just know something's funny. So, you know what I mean? So they know I'm not just trying to like roll over. So now comes these little games to try to manipulate me to take a plea deal. So he's telling me like, oh, he's like, nah, you're he's overhearing my conversation. He's like, no, my Cody. He's like, your Cody didn't take no plea deal. What? Like, all right, hold on. So I got to have a conversation with my attorney before I go inside this courtroom. So when I went inside with my attorney and stuff like that, and he was just like, I mean, miss out all the back and forth, whatever, say, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got no problems with him, so whatever. We're going to have a talk. But
your lawyer?
Yeah, the lawyer at that time, right? Yeah. But he basically was like, no, he didn't take no plea deal.
And was it that your lawyer lied to you, or was it that your lawyer was lied to and he just told you thinking
I don't know. True? I don't know the 100% what's going on with that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I said.
That's definitely something that should be definitely investigated if
yeah,
lying,
well,
for sure. That's fucked up.
Somebody lied to somebody, or somebody's lying to somebody, whatever case may be. All I know is, bottom line, he didn't take a plea.
And that was 6 months into your sentence, you said, or what? Or
6 months into me being incarcerated.
Oh, incarcerated. I mean, yeah.
So I was locked up.
Awaiting trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was locked up. Now, I was already informed from my last court. They're like, all right, we're starting trial, XYZ. So, I don't know nothing about the law at this point. I mean, I know that now that I don't know nothing about the law. I'm here. Got a legal law dictionary, like that's gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, they like thinking I know what I'm talking. Yeah, like come on, man.
Reading
like,
as a judge. Yeah.
They didn't know nothing at the time, right? But I'm like, yo, if we're doing this, we're doing this, right? That's kind of just my attitude when a decision is made. It's made, right? So now they have the tables set up like a trial. It's about to start, which is different than you just going to court for a regular day. So they got the prosecutors right here, you're here, I'm sitting down. They had a whole jury pool come inside. Somebody just hear all the feet coming, boom, the whole jury pool come inside. And now looking back at it, like I could tell they're trying to see my reaction. So I guess based on what they're used to, the element of fear is what they try to utilize a lot. It's usually at that time the person will like kind of go to, I'm a first-time offender too. So they trying to they assuming like, all right, now he's gonna end up folding. So they, in their mind, I guess that was the point I was supposed to go to my lawyer and be like, all right, listen. Yeah, I'll take the deal. I don't want to do this or whatever.
How many years into your sentence was it till you found that big major factor that eventually got you out?
2023, my appeal was denied, right? Appeal was denied 2023. In a span of 3 months, a little bit less than 3 months, is when that issue got discovered.
Wow. So 3 months after that, or
3 months after that, 3 months after my appeal got denied.
Okay. And what was that evidence, I guess, that major factor, just so people know, like, that eventually got you free? You know what I'm saying? What was the big thing that they
so based on what they said in those civil motions in the civil court, they said that they plan on presenting all this evidence in front of a grand jury in Suffolk County. So you're basically saying that all this evidence of these people names and all this kind of stuff. So what I have in the course right now is like, okay, and I'm showing supporting evidence that they actually did in fact do this, which led to my indictment, which would be the reason why they had to do this whole big press conference and make me look like this drug kingpin and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because a person that don't know the law, when you hear dismantle a major drug trafficking ring and all that stuff, you're looking for a drug organization.
Yeah.
This is how this legal terminology, right? In New York State, a ring doesn't necessarily have to mean a drug organization, even though that's how that word is used.
Yeah. And, right. Immediately.
You know what I'm saying? So who knows that? Who's looking at that and not thinking that, oh, yo, this guy was the head of something, even though it's just a picture of him, but we're not worried about, I mean, our minds already made a decision for us, you know what I'm saying? My appeal got denied. However, they modified my sentence. They said, okay, the sentence was actually excessive, so we're gonna drop it to 25 years to life. So how they dropped it to 25 years to life was the top charge of the major drug trafficking, which as a first-time offender is 15 years to life as a first-time offender. And the A1 sale, which was a sale done to a undercover. So the A1 sale held 10 years, major drug trafficking sale held 15 to life, make it 25 to life.
Yeah.
All the other charges ran concurrent to the major drug trafficking charge.
Like, did the judge say anything about the intensity of the sentence? Like, I'm surprised to hear a first-time conviction has, charges that aren't run concurrently that are all maxed. I feel like
when you go to trial, that's the slap in the face they usually give you. 8 out of 10 times is they're gonna run it like, as a deterrent, other people to not want to go to trial, right? And kind of just like okay, yeah, you didn't want to take the plea deal, all right, so this is what we're gonna do to you, right? So it's expected, it's in the law, this rule written in the law, it's expected to do more time, I mean, and all that stuff. Was it fair? No. I mean, does it happen? Yes, could he had so much wiggle room to do whatever he wanted to do. So depending on who he chooses to do what to, it, it could change the situation. But yeah, so it definitely happens.
It's essentially like, take this deal or you're essentially fucked.
Basically.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were at 25 to life.
25 to life.
How did that get to? Obviously, because you didn't spend 25 years in jail. How did you get out?
So the issue that was discovered was that the sale, the major drug trafficking charge, was actually supposed to run concurrent. So all the other things that they run concurrent was not illegally, it was supposed to run concurrent. That was just what they say in the interest of justice. The appellate court has the power to modify your sentence and all that kind of stuff, right? That's the only court that actually has the power to do that kind of stuff. But no one realized, remember we were talking about the president, no case law and stuff like that. Nobody realized it's such a new thing that the double jeopardy clause, that's what the issue is, applies to this case as well. So it was an angle that was overlooked from the trial lawyer. I don't know if the trial judge even cared because he didn't want to give me all that time, even if he did see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My other hurdle that I had was now Department of Corrections is not used to a nonviolent drug charge with so much time. So it was like with this kind of time, they already just kind of treating it like someone who has a murder or something like that. And in the maximum correctional facility, I mean, 95% of the people that you're talking about has violent crimes. But as a nonviolent drug charge, you're eligible for certain programs if you meet the criteria. So I wasn't in there acting up. You know what I mean? I wasn't in there acting up. I had a nice, solid routine. So I didn't do anything to basically mess up my opportunity to get what they call a merit parole. So merit parole allows you as a nonviolent drug offender with indeterminate sentence, which is, it's indeterminate because I have a life. So it's 15 years to life, right? But indeterminate sentence, which that was another thing. Like, how do you get merit with a life sentence? I'm like, no. I mean, I had to literally write Department of Corrections and kind of put together like a 2-3 page like motion explaining how this thing applies. They kind of add right back, oh yeah, you're correct. You're right. Mm-hmm. Right. And then that's, and really, because like I said, there's no precedent. This is such a nuance to them. They don't know how to go about it. And because I had to do it, then it led to me having to do only 2/3 of the time, which led to the 10-year sentence. And so I'm basically on life parole right now. And how it works is it being a drug charge and just how a lot of things change. Basically 3 years, it goes back in front of the board. And if it's something that, obviously I've been keeping myself clean, being productive, then they just take you off parole.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
So you can be taken off parole eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. That's
great.
Great
So yeah, if things was not to transpire in my favor in the courts or whatever, with what I got going on, because that right there just eliminates everything going on,
What is the restrictions of parole, by the way? Like that, because now
Um,
obviously you're out. Like, what are some restrictions?
so there's categories. So based on like I said, still pretty new to me and stuff like that, as far as just learning all this stuff. So it's like, based on if this person's priors, what kind of crime they have. So if you have like a murder, violence, you might have a category 1, a level 1, category 1 or something like that, which is like the most restrictive. And you have like the lowest, which is category 4. I think it's a level 4, category 4. I just know the category 4 part, which is what I am, right? You know what I'm saying? So based on my history in prison, lack of criminal history, you know what I'm saying? They factor in all these things and they make it, and they have your counselor make a suggestion and stuff like that.
And you want it to be like an opportunity for redemption, not just necessarily only punishment, but also like, look, a path to like, look, let me actually get off this parole and stuff like that. So
100%,
it's good that there's a thing. And obviously, look, 10 years in prison, that's a very long time. So I just want to ask, like, I mean, was there any like scary points in prison? Because I can imagine like any points, like what was like the scariest point for you in prison?
So going from, the county, the first 18 months was cool, I guess, for me, because I was in Suffolk County, right? You know what I mean? So it's not to compare what's going on in Rikers or anything. I didn't have to experience any of that stuff going on. But going to Clinton, now you're talking about the real deal. Right? You're talking the real deal. So my first experience of learning like, oh shit, this shit is really some real prison stuff is my first night going out. It's nighttime. And it's just the whole look of it. Like that whole psych ward kind of looking building kind of thing. Just, you know what I mean? It just gives you that kind of energy, right? So I go on the phone and there was this Spanish dude gets like this guy, he got stabbed. I seen him get stabbed in the eye. And they must have stabbed this guy like 20, 30 times.
What?
Yeah. Come to find out, they said that he was a rape or something like that. But it's just like, I mean, you see some stuff in your life, and then I ain't never seen no shit like that before. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, there's some real jail stuff going on, some real prison stuff going on. And then it's like, that's the thing what I was saying is like, yo, when you walk out your cell, it's kind of like, you don't have a strong spirit, it will break you. Like, you know what I mean? Just your thoughts just drive you crazy.
Who would have thought you would have woke up that morning and you'd see some dude getting his eye stabbed and getting stabbed? Like, that's crazy, you would not have expected that. And for prison too, is there like, because we hear on like shows, is there like a kind of an economy in prison? Like we see with people trading, is this like a true thing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like when I was in, you see, my taking that was in the law library. I turned the law library. I was into my office, right? So I had someone photocopy. I had something worked out with the guy who was in control of the photocopies, just so I could get a deal on it versus having to pay retail on it. They had person on the computer to actually type up the motions, so I'm not saying you have to be on the typewriter. And gives me time to delegation, right? Gives me time to go do my research and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
So there really was to the point where you're paying people with
cigarettes.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Newport cigarettes. Sometimes, all right, some money in the commissary.
Yeah.
I heard a thing once. I think it had to be like a podcast clip. I don't know who it was exactly or where it was from, but they said like ramen noodles was a big thing. And
ramen noodles is like the go-to over there. You would definitely leave there with some high blood pressure. For real. Yeah, ramen noodles, that's really the easy go-to. They put people mixing rice with ramen noodles. Ramen noodles is so convenient and easy off the commissary.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, they made it easy for you to get like packages from home. Then they restricted it to having to just buy it from certain catalogs. And, the prices in those catalogs was crazy, right? So it was just like, so it kind of was left to eating most of the time, really eating from the commissary or going to chow. Like I said, certain things I'd eat in the chow. Certain things I'm not touching. But yeah, ramen noodles definitely.
Yeah, that's what
you're always gonna see a stack of 20 ramen noodles in somebody's cell, something like that.
Yeah. Wow. So now your hour is just crazy, and this whole story is crazy, and the fact that you actually had didn't just give up, but were learning the law and actually taking the time is insane. That's like I said, it could be a movie. Like I feel like that's like a movie-esque story. So I think this is definitely big. And I guess looking back on your journey, first of all, like, what are you still fighting? Because I know you said that there were some things. First of all, like, what are you fighting still? Like, what is? I guess what do you want fixed? Like, ideally, what do you want right now?
I want the indictment which is basically the thing that kind of what leads you, basically keeps you incarcerated, right? The indictment to get thrown out based off of prosecutorial misconduct. And that prosecutorial misconduct is what I was discussing earlier with the whole thing about them putting evidence from another case and all that stuff. I mean, that's a level of misconduct that's unprecedented, you know? And it's something that it's not like something you're going to be able to go on the computer and just find like, oh, whatever. But I mean, it won't surprise me that administration was just taking something out of their old playbook. Prior was multiple people that they did this to. I mean, it was so simple but sophisticated at the same time. It's like, oh, yeah, just take this case. Yeah, all right, got this case, mix it with that. All right, all for the money. All for money. You know, throw me away, try to bury me with the time. So think about it, even when they gave me that 51 years to life, you know, they've been doing, judges, and they've been doing this forever. So he was probably already predetermined that, okay, we're going to give him this much time, because when it does get to the appellate court, probably knew they was going to change it to 25 years to life, right? There was nothing in their mind assuming that I was going to do what I did and be here right now.
Yeah, you beat the system. Well, it was literally you against one of the most powerful systems. You know, I mean, this is insane. Like I said, the odds were against you. I mean, the fact that you actually were able to push through, and I mean, like I said, it's a credit to your self-determination, I gotta say.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate that.
I mean, I think the story has been incredible. But I have one last question for myself, and then I'll pass it to Shiv for last question. But obviously, look, you spent 10 years in prison for selling drugs.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know, you know, obviously this is such a long journey for you, and you're a totally different person. Do you wish you can go back almost and not have sold drugs, or do you feel like it's worth it because of the journey, because of the person you are today? What do you feel like?
Good question. I feel like we all put on a path, right? Can I see the collateral beauty with everything that happened? Absolutely. Because even prior to this happening, I kind of my intentions is probably what created this, right? Like if I wanted to change things in my life, and you know, you just get caught up in a cycle. And that's the thing too, right? You just get caught up in whatever cycle you're doing. You know, you start something, it might be, oh, wow, nervous. All right, let me just do this for a little bit, whatever. Once you start getting desensitized to anything you're doing, and then before you know it, that's your reality. Now, when you try to break out your reality, that's one of the hardest things a person could do. Like, you know what I mean? Just wake up and stop doing whatever you're doing. Yeah. Like, all right, just turn around. So kudos to anyone who's able to like just do that, right? I had to get forced out of the cycle that I was in for the big reset. You know, like when I got incarcerated, not just with this drugs thing, like I was 300 pounds, pre-diabetic, cholesterol, mind you, I was a sports when I was younger, so I know how it is to be in shape and everything like that. But the lifestyle, I was a reflection of the lifestyle, the dirty lifestyle and everything, my dirty way of thinking and what I'm doing and what are my the things I really care about. I was a reflection of that. Mentally, not just physically, just mentally, everything. You know what I mean? So it's like I could understand like how a person who seemed like they got everything could be just empty inside and just pushing like millionaire going to kill himself or something like that. You know what I mean? As long as you keep on trying to go on the external stuff like that, that's not curing anything, right? So it's like I wasn't in the place of committing suicide or nothing like that, but I could like everything's looking good. You know, it was like, oh yeah, look, I'm climbing, but I'm killing myself to have all this external stuff progress. Just overzealous and no balance. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So it's like, that's one thing I learned. It's like, I want to just credit one book. There's like this book called, if anyone ever has a moment to read it, Life Changing, is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's something that you probably end up talking to someone that went to school and they're going to probably know because that's probably something they had in one of their classes. But when you start realizing what these habits are and these principles and just kind of finding a balance in your life, it's like, all right, you have to do things a certain way to be successful, right? These are things that I just kind of adopted, that it's like, wow, if this would have not happened, I mean, where else would where would I been? Yeah. I mean, would COVID would have took me out? No, Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? We're like, would I've been
It's a bit
killed?
conflicting, you know. It is a lot of time, but at the same time, you seem like a totally different person. So it's like you
100%.
call it the big reset. Would that have happened on its own? You know, you don't really know. You know. So,
Yeah, I can't foresee that had happened.
Well, what's good about this is that this is like almost a second opportunity for you to maybe have a totally different life. This is like a third chapter you had before.
Definitely.
You had your time in prison. Now this is after. This is
100%.
your, you know, where look, you're coming on the mic check right. This is a pretty big start. I gotta say already for
Absolutely.
coming out. But you know, like you said, hopefully maybe movies, books. I mean, who knows? Maybe bigger podcasts. But I hope with all the success, you don't forget about us.
Trust me, I definitely won't.
But I hope.
Definitely won't.
Shiv, you want to ask your last question to our guy here? I mean,
what would you say is like just generally the biggest misconception about prison? Like, I'm kind of in the camp, and I know this is a rising thing that, you know, in media or stories or like whatever, a prison and the people in it are villainized largely.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of activism now towards, reform for inmates or et cetera. Like,
100%.
what would you say is like the biggest thing that probably the average person on the street believes goes on in prison that, just isn't true or isn't your experience at the very least?
Well, I mean, I could say the big misconception is that this type of mindset is not going on in prison, right? Like my circle of influence was based on people that kind of carried somewhat the same type of mentality in different facets, right? So meaning like someone was really into working out, right? Which is something in itself that takes some type of characteristic trait to kind of want to keep that level of discipline to reach a certain goal and put your body through something like that. So, you know what I mean? So it's like that usually comes with some type of characteristic trait or something like that. So we connected.
Strong mind, yeah.
Yeah, strong mind, the resilience, the pushing, able to go, you know what I mean? It usually comes with some things to be able to kind of stay consistent with that, right? So connect with people like that. It's like a lot of people you see, it's crazy. You'll find straight up gangsters going to school. And by the time they second, third year, like just hear how they talking. You know what I mean? You got people that didn't even know how to write. That's graduating with bachelors and masters and stuff like that. And I could see it. I don't know if everyone else could see it, but you could just see the transformation and just how their brain is just rewired from all this new information on just how they think and look at the world, you know?
What was like, how do I put this? Like in terms of like something you found out after you got out, I don't know, maybe it was like a album or a piece of technology or like whatever, like what like surprised you the most? Like, or
when I came out?
Yeah.
Oh, the tapping on the phone when people was paying for stuff.
I didn't even think of that.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
10 years ago, I didn't even.
Turning up the
I don't know they wasn't doing that 10 years ago.
Wow.
Nah, I went out with my cousin. He was just like,
carries wallets anymore.
like I was like,
the best thing, Apple Pay.
Nobody.
Pay.
Some places don't even take cash. Nobody carries a
For
wallet.
real.
Also the Omni, I mean the Metro card's gone
Yeah,
too.
Metro
Now you got
card.
Omni,
yeah, well they still got some of them are still taking the Metro card
Yeah,
things, you
some
know
of
what I
them
mean?
still take
But
it.
yeah, I got the Omni card and stuff like that. But I wasn't like I'm from Suffolk County, man. This whole I'm in the city now.
that's
I
true.
had to really learn how to take these buses and trains. I'm in chasing subways for
That's
my
right.
first 2 weeks home.
Yeah, welcome to the city. That's literally what it'd be like. Well,
Real.
thank you so much for telling your story. I feel honored that you came on here and that we actually were
Appreciate
able
you guys.
to tell it because it's an important story and it's a big story. And
An
like
amazing
I said,
one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Truly.
Definitely.
Remarkable. Seriously.
remarkable.
Shout out to you. Everything. I'm
Thank
gonna leave your stuff in the link in the description and the website where you could check out a lot of these documents and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to plug before we head out of here?
Well, just want to shout out a Second You Foundation for all the great work that they do with people coming inside, with the formerly incarcerated people. As far as me, my Instagram at Tone Legacy, spelled out just like that, Tone Legacy, TONELEGACY, and my website. Please go check my website, baptistestory.com. Right, and everything is on there. Even if you want to find a way how you could support and to raise more awareness to what's going on and everything like that, look at the legal documents, see the details on my case, please just go to my website, baptistestory.com. It's ABAPTISTE story.com.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm gonna leave it in the link
Thank you so
description too, guys. Peace out of here. There's another great episode. I'm out.